So today I've got something very cool for you guys. This is the Kimber Super Jaeger in 10 millimeter. This is a hand cannon. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. Today I've got something very exciting for you guys. This is a Kimber custom shop gun. This is the Kimber Super Jaeger, chambered in 10 millimeter. It's a long slide, 6-inch barrel, 10 millimeter, 1911. And this thing is super cool. So we're gonna get into this review. I really hope you guys enjoy this one. I've really enjoyed shooting it and making this review. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. Please like and share this video and comment if you're a 1911 lover like me. I really hope you enjoy this. Well, let's get started. So you guys know how much I love 1911s. And I've got 1911s in 45 and 9 millimeter. But man, 10 millimeter, you know what they call it, the best millimeter, right? So as you guys know, I love 1911s. I've put out a lot of 1911 videos on this channel. I've owned quite a few myself. Got a Springfield Armory TRP, the tactical response pistol right there. Springfield Armory Ronin in 9 millimeter. This one's 45 ACP. And now we've got a 10 millimeter. And I want to thank Kaylin especially for loaning me this gun for review. Kaylin, every time, man, I really appreciate it. So take a good look at this thing. We're going to go up close in a sec so you can get a better look at it. But this thing is the literal definition of a hand cannon. Long slide, 6-inch barrel, 10 millimeter chambering. It doesn't even come with iron sights. It comes with a Leupold Delta Point Pro pre-installed from the factory. It's got all the bells and whistles. And because of the ported slide and barrel, that 10 millimeter recoil out of such a big, heavy gun, not even bad. Shooting this thing was an absolute blast. But let's take a look up close because you guys need to see this thing. So to me, this is a very exciting pistol. For one thing, man, it's just got those classic 1911 looks, although obviously very modernized in a lot of ways. So let's check this thing out. First of all, you have 9-round stainless steel magazines, 10 millimeter. So I've been shooting this 10 millimeter flat nose through it from Ammo Incorporated, and it ran like an absolute champ. The owner of this pistol carries, of course, hollow points in it and has had no problem feeding those. Carries it in, of course, being a 1911, a classic leather holster with a thumb brake. Now, it comes with a Leupold Delta Point Pro, which of course comes with a nice cover just for keeping it safe and not getting it damaged. Although the Delta Point Pro is fairly robust with this extra, aluminum cover that goes over it. And we'll get into the optic in just a minute. But check out these grips for one. It's got very beautiful grips. Some texture on the front of them, which is really where you need the texture. And besides that texture, it's got a very interesting kind of, not stippling, but, just texture on the mainspring housing and on the front strap that just looks really cool. Some very cool machining, and it works really well so that when you're under recoil with that 10 millimeter, it's very easy to keep a good grip on the gun. Now, obviously, that is enhanced by this ambidextrous safety selector. You can see ambi there, where you can get your thumb on top of that, kind of use it as a gas pedal to help control recoil. The extended beaver tail here helps you get a good high grip on the gun. And while this doesn't look like your normal memory pad, It actually is. If you push in on that grip safety, you see how it doesn't go all the way in flush with the grip. It's just that the way they machined it is a little bit smoother than a lot of other 1911s. It's got a fantastic trigger, so let's take a look at that trigger right now. Standard 1911 trigger, you have to depress your grip safety and defeat your thumb safety there, which has a very audible tactile click on or off safe. Works extremely well. Skeletonized hammer, and that trigger has almost no take up there. Just a little bit that you want to be able to prep your trigger while you're drawing. Very little travel. No over travel. Here's your reset. And the brake again. Fantastic trigger. Kimber custom shop. It is a standard GI takedown, so it doesn't have like a full-length guide rod. It just has a plug in here that you pull out. It's a little bit longer than a plug on your standard government 1911, being as it has a 6-inch barrel and a longer slide. And as you can see, the barrel is ported, and so is the slide. And so that works as a comp where it vents those gases up and forward to help keep your muzzle rise down. And it really does make a big difference. 10 millimeter is not known to be the softest shooting cartridge by any means, but the ported barrel and slide really makes it much easier to control this gun and keep your shots on target and being able to shoot it fairly quickly. That is also helped by the sighting system here. So again, I said it doesn't have any iron sights, which is an interesting choice in my opinion, but the fact that it comes with the Leupold Delta Point Pro and with modern optic technology, I mean, these optics are super robust, super, you can rely on them very well. And so I don't think you really, I know everyone runs backup iron sights, including myself, but honestly, how often have you ever actually needed them? Probably never. So I get it. The window on the Delta Point Pro is absolutely huge. So even with the added recoil of the 10 millimeter, you don't really ever lose your dot in the window, which is very nice. Compared to, say, my Holosun 407K here, look at the difference in the window size. It's just absolutely a huge window, and it's very clear. The dot is nice and crisp, and it works very, very well on this gun. Plus, it just looks cool. It gives it that modern 1911 look. It's just a very, very unique pistol. Skeletonized trigger, as well as the hammer, which I'd already mentioned. 10 millimeter barrel. Kimber custom shop gun. It's got that same machining that you have on the front strap and on the mainspring housing, all along the top of the slide, which is just added, aesthetics for one thing, but also, it'll definitely keep any glare down from reflecting back through your optic window if you're shooting it out in the sun. It's got very cool machining as far as your slide serrations as well. It kind of reminds me of the slide serrations on the Smith & Wesson M&P, though a little bit more like actual fish scales. It's a very cool look, but also very, very easy to grab onto. So you can either rack it with those, or you can use these up here as front slide serrations and grip that slide very easily in order to manipulate it from the front or the rear, or do that tactical rack it off your optic. It's a very, very modern tactical 1911. Now, it doesn't have a rail for a light. But you know what? With a gun like this, I'm completely fine with that. None of my 1911s have light rails either. I have lights on my polymer guns, not my 1911s. Kind of maintains that classic look. And this thing, man, it has a classic look. Stainless steel barrel with a bushing, standard GI 1911. Pretty dang cool. So the Super Jaeger is a Kimber custom shotgun. It doesn't come with any sights, but it comes with a Leupold Delta Point Pro. Also, a ported slide and barrel, So really the 10mm recoil is not even bad on this thing. Very easy to manage. So how is it shooting this freaking beast of a pistol? Well, I can see how this would be kind of intimidating for a lot of newer shooters or just people that aren't experienced in, bigger calibers or just bigger guns. But the truth is that generally a bigger pistol is actually easier to shoot well than a smaller one. Although 10mm is no slouch. As I mentioned before, I've got 1911s in 9mm and 45 ACP, and there is a big difference in recoil between the 9 and the 45. And there's an even bigger difference in recoil between the 9 and the 10mm. But as I said, the ported slide and barrel really helps control that. And I didn't find this being a difficult gun to shoot accurately or even quickly by any means. For what it is, it's a very easy gun to shoot. You wouldn't think so until you get your hands on it, but there is nothing really difficult or intimidating about this once you start putting rounds down range. It was very easy to keep rounds on target, very easy to shoot quickly. That Delta Point Pro works great on this gun. The big window really helps, like I said, when it's under that 10mm recoil, you don't even lose your dot in the window, and that is really helpful. Now, it's got a fairly good size grip on it. These are not slimline grips by any means, but that just helps even more to keep your grip on the gun. I didn't find myself having to milk my grip or change it up while I was shooting. As is a standard 1911, my hands are, medium sized. They're not huge. To actuate this slide release here, that was a support hand deal, which is what I use with my other 1911s as well. That's not that it's mil spec, but that's like standard GI 1911 stuff, where it's just easier to hit it with your thumb. Otherwise, you'd have to change up the grip in your hand to be able to get to that. But other than that, controls, very tactile, very easy to use, exactly where you'd expect them to be on a 1911. And it shot great. This gun is a very, very interesting gun. It's very cool. It's very cool looking. And it's a powerful handgun. That's why I keep calling it a hand cannon. This is something that you could carry with you out in bear country as personal defense against large predators and be very well armed. My brother's a big hunter, hunts elk in, grizzly country. And so when he asked me what kind of pistol to get for personal protection out there, I told him to get a 10mm. And what he bought was a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 chambered in 10mm. And he actually has had a bear encounter. And as scary as he said it was, at least he knew that he had a pistol chambered in the right cartridge to be able to protect himself from that kind of animal. And this is chambered in the exact same cartridge as that. 10mm, 44 mag. Those are basically the things that you want to have if you run into one of those large predators, like a grizzly bear or something. I would feel much more confident with this than with a 9mm out in grizzly country. And that's kind of the point of it. This gun, you are well armed with this thing and you know it. It doesn't feel like, it just feels like you are well armed, if you know what I mean. This is a very interesting, very exciting gun, very unique. This is the kind of thing you pull it out at the range and people are going to want to know what the heck it is. It's just very cool. This is a very cool piece. So I was very excited to bring this to you guys. Thought it was a really cool opportunity. Iraq Veteran 8888 just did a video on this exact same gun. So I thought that this was a good time to put out another video on the same gun. Hopefully you guys can get my perspective as well. I really, really like this thing, but you guys know how much I love 1911s as well. I'm going to put out another video coming up next week. It's going to be 1911s in 9mm, 10mm, and 45. We're going to compare and contrast, shootability, recoil, stopping power, all those kinds of things and why you would choose one caliber over another. And it should be a really fun video as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one so far. This gun is really awesome. So this is the definition of a hand cannon. 6-inch barrel, chambered in 10mm. This thing's sweet. I love it. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and share it. Please subscribe to the channel, and please leave me a comment. If you are a 1911 lover like myself, what do you run? Do you run a 10mm? Do you run a Kimber, a Colt, a Springfield? What is your preferred brand of 1911? And what kind of 1911 do you own? I would love to hear it from you guys. This is the first Kimber that I've really gotten any real experience with, and I am highly impressed. It's a fantastic gun, extremely fun to shoot, very expensive to shoot. 10mm is not cheap. But anyway, I love you guys. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.